Midnight Magic Music family. I am the Earl of Florida, and I will be your host for the duration of this video. And no, I am not humble. That is the Lord Cephas, and right now he is currently wrapped up in a straitjacket of his own making called spending time with family. What does that mean? Decipher it if you will. I have no other additional information for you. But he is not here and you're stuck with me, which means you're going to have a lot of fun, or you're going to be clicking to leave this video very, very soon. Preferably it's the first one because we like the views. Now, what today's video is going to be, it's going to be what we refer to as Realm of Reality Rundown. And what that means is we're going to talk about a movie that came out, and we're one that I've already watched, and we're going to discuss some of the issues with it, or perks to it, some of the good things, the bad things, the ugly things, the pretty things, and what made it successful or not successful, and what it made at the box office, and if there will be a sequel because that's the way it was written, or if there will be a sequel because, well, people like money. So do I. So, we're going to get started on this, so here we go. So, what we have here is what Scream 6, and if you're not sure what that is, that's a ah with a 6 added to the end of it. And so yeah, Scream 6 is actually the 5th sequel to a movie that came out many, many moons ago when I was still a youngster. Not that young. I'm not that old. But either way, the first one came out in 1996, and it was directed by Wes Craven. And it just blew up from there. It became a cult classic film that fit into the genre very well. And the genre we're talking about is, if you didn't hear the scream, the literal scream earlier, yes, this genre is horror, and yes, that means people will die, and probably in a grisly, violent way. So the first one was a hit. The budget was around $15 million. And pulled in $173 million. So yes, this was 96. So a few years ago. So there is a difference in inflation there. We won't go into how much because it will make me cry because I am old. But Scream 6 is coming off of a sequel titled Scream that came out in 2022. No, that was not a reboot. It's a continuation of the previous 4 movies. Introducing a new cast of characters. Now, this cast has ties back to the original film, and if you have not seen the 2022 version, Scream, that's your fault. That's on you. The spoilers that are about to be released are, well, it's all your fault. Or Lord Cephas, because, well, you know, it's always his fault too. So if it's not your fault, I blame him. Blame him with me. We will make a movement to blame Lord Cephas. But either way, 2022 Scream came out, and it follows the progeny of one of the killers from the original film, played by was it Skeet Ulrich? No, Skeet Ulrich is the older guy, right? No, nope, it is Skeet Ulrich. Who was I thinking about? I don't know. But Skeet Ulrich in the first film was again, spoiler alert, again, 1996, it's your fault or Lord Cephas' fault. I don't know which way you want to go with, but it's one of y'all's fault. So Skeet Ulrich played one of the villains, the killers or murderers, the genre-specific titular character, Scream, Ghostface, whatever you want to call him. But either way, Billy Loomis was his name. And so in Scream, last year's 2022 one came out, and so the main character is actually the progeny of the main villain in the first one. So we get to follow it around, learn some important details, meet some new cast, new characters, but also we get throwbacks to some of the legacy characters. And we call them legacy characters because they have been around for years and years and years and years, since 1996 actually, and they won't die, no matter how many times we try to stab them to death. I'm looking at you, David Arquette, Mr. Deputy Dewey himself, who got me in trouble when I went to see Scream, and I bust out laughing when he got on the phone and said, "Hello." Yes, I got in trouble for that. Because there's something disturbing when somebody's laughing at a horror movie, but, well, there you go. That's first sign. But either way, so the legacy characters, played by Cox, Arquette, and Campbell, also returned in this. Some newly returning or newly introduced characters would be the Jenna Ortega and Jack Quaid, Melissa Martinez, and also Mason Gooding, who is actually, apparently he's also the son of Cuba Gooding Jr., so quick info there. So the 2022 version was all about, what you would expect, slasher, screaming, who's the bad guy, blah, 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 blah. And in the end, again, if you haven't seen it, it's your own fault. Jack Quaid of the recent The Boys fame, or the Star Trek, the cartoon one that's on, I believe, Paramount. It's Below Decks, I believe is what it's called. He's one of the voices of the main characters on there. So Jack Quaid is returning to film to also star in Scream, where he was, again, spoiler, if you haven't seen it, it's your fault, or Lord Stephen says, the villain in this particular horror fest. Now, 1 year later, both in real life and also in the universe, we come to Scream 6. I'm not going to scream 6 times because I will lose my voice, and I will cry about it. But either way, Scream 6 is a continuation. It's a year later, and we pick up pretty much a year later. We get the surviving characters, those who survived the preceding year, who've moved on to a college setting in the Big Apple. If you don't know where the Big Apple is, it's next to the Little Apple. No, I'm kidding. That would not be correct. I don't know. Do we have a Little Apple? Probably not. But the Big Apple is, in fact, Manhattan, also known as New York City, or whatever else you want to call the Big Apple. Haha, the big C's. I don't know. That's a different kind of story. But anyway, Scream 6 follows a new Ghostface who is in the big city. So we get a different feel than we did all the predecessors. So all the previous ones, you had kind of, it felt like the small town setting, even Scream 2, where you had the college campus kind of vibe, and Scream 3 was, I believe that was the on-set vibe. It still felt kind of enclosed. It felt close. It felt intimate, an intimate setting almost. But this one, you have no idea what's going on because it is the Big Apple, Manhattan. Why isn't it the Womanhattan? I don't know. I mean, whatever. But either way, it's in the big city, so there is a different feel. It's like, who is the villains and who are the killers? Who are the good guys? Are we going to get some backstabbies, reveals? What's going on? So the plus side with this movie is it delivers all of the cliches. So if you're a big fan of the cliches and the necessary things that's going to happen in a horror movie, I'm looking at you, Randy, or Randy's niece and nephew. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There are certain stereotypes that are necessary in a horror film, and this one likes to check a lot of them off. But this one also takes a little bit of a different approach to the fact that because it's in a different setting and it's a bigger world, you're able to, it feels like it's no longer intimate, that it's no longer, it's expected, you just have to put your back against the wall and you can fight them off. In this setting, it feels like you don't know who's your friend for real, because the world building is it's grown exponentially, because it's no longer just a group of 10 or 20, it's now an entire city. So that setting, I think, takes on almost its own kind of character in the background of this film, in the fact that it feels like it's so much larger. And I'm not talking about who was it, Jason in Manhattan. That was a completely different, and it also reached campiness levels at that point. This one tries to take a relatively serious look at the horror genre and the continuation with Scream 6. Now, I don't want to spoil anything in this film, but there were a lot of fun, a lot of surprises in this. Obviously, there's a lot of stabby, bleedy, oh my gosh moments that come with Scream and the horror franchise in itself. My biggest frustration is, with the knives and knife wounds. In some movies, we see somebody who's stabbed and we're like, you can get up and run, or at least limp. You can get away. Well, in this movie, they take that with probably some amphetamines and adrenaline and some kind of narcotic pain blocker, because a few times in this movie we get abdominal wounds where they're not just stabbed in the gut, they're also, all intents and purposes, almost gutted like a fish, to use the cliche term, overused term. But yeah, they're literally, quote unquote, stabbed in the gut or gutted. And these same characters momentarily later, who are not unconscious or bleeding out or also trying to hold internal organs from escaping, are either jumping or climbing or diving or running or walking. And I'm like, none of this, I can't do it. If I got stabbed in the gut and had a knife like that twisted, I'm screaming for my mommy and I probably wet myself. I mean, I do those completely different reasons. I did get scared sometimes. It does storm, and mommy, and sometimes you don't make it to the bathroom. And at my age, you go. But with major wounds like this, sometimes it's hard for me to believe in the believability in some of these actions. And I'm like, they were just stabbed by a 6 to 9 inch knife in the back, sunk almost to the hilt, and you're telling me we didn't hit any, major organs, no lungs, there's not going to be any issues with muscles or tendons or ligaments or, being alive in general or not bleeding out. So, obviously, there were some incidences like that that had me go, come on, you're killing me, you're really killing me. But, obviously, it's a movie, it's a horror movie, it's a number 6 in a franchise that's spawned on from 1996 to 2023, so there's some believability factors to be suspended. And so if you suspend your belief in the human anatomy and the injuries that you can take and the stupidity of some people and the distrustfulness, and if you just suspend belief in reality, then you could very easily find yourself engrossed and lost in this film. And thankfully, as a writer or as just somebody who tries to run away from reality, being a single parent of 5, sometimes like, no, freedom, let me dive into something and completely forget reality. You know what, I did find some fun in this movie. It was over the top, goofy in some points, overly dramatic in others, expected pops and unexpected surprises in a few other instances. So overall, I would say that I did watch this movie and I enjoyed it for what it was. And if you are a fan of the genre, if you're a fan of the original Scream or some of the other sequels, if you're a fan of stabby movies, or if you're even a fan of nitty gritty heroines, that's hero women who are women, female protagonists, not the drug. That's say no to drugs, not heroines. I'm saying that wrong, but you know what I'm saying. If you like strong female characters who can kick butt and don't need to rely on a man, then this may be a movie for you. And just say no to drugs. That's bad. Don't ever say yes. That's a negative. See, Lord Cephas, I am responsible, and I'm not bashing you, and I could take a perfect opportunity to. But you did put the spelling in here in the draft that you sent me, and this was not the way it was spelled correctly, so it is your fault. That's what I'm going with. So back to the movie. Overall, if you like Scream, you like horror, you like some fun, ridiculous, unplugged from reality, you know what? Check it out. If you don't like violence, if you don't like blood, if you don't like potentially giving yourself nightmares at night, or having kids that are scared, or just something like that, then you probably don't want to check this movie out. But hate to break it to you, fans, this movie, on a budget of $35 million, pulled in $168.7 million at the box office. And while that may not sound like massive numbers when you're talking about Disney or Marvel or DC, who like to spend $250 million on a budget and potentially the same amount of money on marketing and advertising, but we're going to pull up a Ant-Man 3 scenario. Yes, Lord Cephas is laughing, and I'm crying on the inside about that. that made less than $500 million on a budget of $200 million, and we don't even know how much marketing. What did they really make? $70 million? And then you go to this movie that cost $35 million for the budget, potentially that in marketing or advertising, and still raked in another $100 million. I would call Scream 6, without a doubt, a win and a victory. And you know what? Compared to the previous ones, it has fallen in the right area when it comes to box office. So will there be another Scream in the future? I believe, in fact, there will be a howl and a outcry or a screech, or dare I say a scream in the future. Will it be a year? Will it be 2 years? Who knows? But fans of Scream, don't be surprised when, in fact, we get another Scream. I want to thank you for joining us for my little reality rundown for Scream. It's been a lot of fun. You know where to do. Hit us with a like, with a subscribe, and hit us with a comment. Tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me something, and I promise not to cry more than 5 minutes in the corner, because if there is a killer out there, he always checks the corners or under the bed. So you never want to be alone crying, because they'll find you. You make a lot of noise when you're crying. Trust me, I know. I've heard myself recorded from crying. It's not a pretty picture. There's snot bubbles and all that fun stuff. But you know what? Leave a comment. We'll get back to you. We'll respond. Thank you, Midnight Magic Museum families. Again, I am the Earl of Florida. Thank you. Love you. See you soon.